first and foremost, for most of the Big 12, for most of the ACC, for portions of the Big 10, and even a couple of SEC teams, this is the worst news possible if athletes actually become employees of their school. It sounds so dour to bring up the death of conferences like we just saw from the Pac-12, to bring up the death of college athletics. But while a lot of us talking heads have brought it up and most of us have tailored something toward the legitimacy of how this could play out amongst the Big 10 and the SEC, it's actually the Ivy League that's brought it. Dartmouth basketball players. Might I remind you, Dartmouth basketball sucks. And their basketball players came together and said, we should unionize. Of course, it was the Ivy League nerds that decided that this was their... Look, and somebody could clip this and be like, look at this guy who's ratting on Dartmouth basketball play. I 100% am. They all got in a room like, we have one Ivy League win. What can we do to win this season? Let's revolt. And you know what? This win, with them saying we should be able to create a union as employees and a judge saying, you know what, you're right, you are an employee of the university. You know what this win says? That these players, that college athletes can now determine practice time, the amount of time they work. In effect, that the college players can negotiate their salaries, that college players could negotiate possible benefits, that college players are no longer student athletes. They are working athletes. They are playing professional athletics because they are getting paid to do what they do. Now, do I hate the idea that there's compensation to athletes who make the money for these schools? No. Let's think about this. There are university presidents, coaches, ADs who make millions upon millions of dollars. These programs can make billions of dollars. At least the whole makes over $1 billion and another billion and another billion. College athletics brings in so much money every year, and the ones who really get the work done are not the ones who see that money. Think about this. We aren't showing up to games to see a coach, to see Bill Underwood coach a basketball game. We're showing up to games to see athletes play these games. They are truly the employees of what money is being brought in. They are the ones that we show up to their work every day. We wear their uniform and watch them do what they do. I don't, in essence, hate the idea of them being compensated for what they do. But the idea I do hate is when we go to Charlie Baker's formula. Charlie Baker's the president of the NCAA. And what he has said in this scenario is, yeah, let's have the schools actually pay the athletes $30,000 per athlete for at least half of your athletes. And the schools that can't afford that, let's kick them to the wayside. If you've watched any Josh Pate, and by the way, Josh Pate has been on this show. Josh Pate is a friend of the program. I love watching his stuff. I don't have a bad word to say about Josh Pate. He has put out things in the last couple of days when he has turned into someone who has completely embraced the idea of like a TCU going to the wayside. He, in essence, is saying some of you will die. That is a risk the NCAA is willing to take. When Josh Pate has gone that direction, where he has said there is almost no reason to factor in the alternative because there is no alternative moving forward, that is when you know this is legitimate. That what Charlie Baker, the NCAA president, says, I want student athletes to get paid by their schools. When Dartmouth players say, we want to unionize as employees of our schools, and a judge says, you know what, you're right. That is the perfect storm. While the SEC and the Big 10 are meeting as we speak to talk about these very conversations, that is the perfect storm to hyperactivate major change in college athletics that kills Kansas State, that kills Baylor, that kills an Arizona State or an Arizona. A lot of these programs that are either in decent financial standing, even they're not going to make it. The programs that are in awful financial standing, your Arizona, who just lost $200+ million in cash they thought they had laying around and they miscalculated that. That is not good. If you're in that boat, that is not good. And for most Big 12 programs, like an Iowa State, that is not good. Can I peel the curtain back a bit here? Not only do I love watching Iowa State and Kansas State play football, I make money. Like that's my job. I host Locked On Big 12. I love that the Big 12 exists. I want to bring up a buddy of mine who was on the show last week, Spencer McLaughlin. He was Locked On Pac-12. He's now hosting Locked On College Football because there is no more Pac-12. What are they going to do with me? What's my show going to be when in 2 years' time, the Big 12 is null because the literal president of the NCAA wants to create an employee-employer relationship between athletes and their schools. When the governing body over these institutions is the one saying, yeah, let's do this. That is a very good telltale that it's going to happen, that this is the trajectory. What does that look like in essence? I love this. I saw a tweet, and I wish I could give credit to whoever tweeted it out. I saw, in essence, this says that the SEC and the Big Ten can play in their own league. They can play in their own league in football. They're going to have their own little thing that they do because they're the rich ones. They can pay their athletes X amount of dollars to make sure that they keep up with whatever quota the NCAA sets, whatever quota these players now lobby for in their unions. For the rest of us, what do? Especially outside of football and the non-revenue sports, does this mean that we can effectively kick out Kentucky from the NCAA tournament? Can we kick out Vanderbilt from the College World Series? In football, yeah, you get your national championship. Congratulations, LSU. You just won it on the biggest stage against the best teams, the best 20 teams, or the best 20 brands in America. But for basketball, now what do? What are the rest of us? This is a wholly a football conversation. And it's that kind of stuff that works into this. It's that kind of stuff that works into this that, to me, says there is too much to consider to keep going down this path. There's too much gray area to keep going down the path that's going to kill college athletics as we know it. It's going to create this elite super league, this super conference that's above the NCAA, that's above Division I, that's above a national championship or college football playoff where they make the rules they want to make. Matt Brown tweets, there's going to be an appeal for sure, but if Dartmouth basketball players fall under the employment classification, a whole hell of a lot of other athletic programs beyond Power 5 football and basketball will too. And he lands it. That is the case we have in front of ourselves right now. With Dartmouth will appeal, but with a judge ruling, hey, you know what? By the looks of this, yeah, you are employees. That's not good for all of us. The national, this is Pete Nakos. Major college sports news. The National Labor Relations Board Regional Director in Region 1 in Boston has issued a decision ruling Dartmouth men's basketball players are employees of Dartmouth. NLRB ordering a union election. That tweet, as simple as it is, as few words as it is the demise of college athletics. It's not the beginning. We've already seen the beginning. We saw the beginning, and I don't even want to point at Texas and Oklahoma leaving the Big 12, but that to me was this spiral of whoof. Now some of the biggest brands in the country in the modern era, in an even more modern era than we were in 10 years ago when Nebraska jumped ship and A&M jumped ship, and when Utah joined the Pac-12. Even more modern, we are in a completely different realm because of NIL and the transfer portal. Completely different realm, and brands matter now more than ever by tenfold. That was the catalyst to, hey, wait a second, guys. What if we start all making decisions that factor money and money only? Now the athletes want it too. I don't hate them getting compensated. They're the ones who've been putting millions of dollars, billions of dollars in pockets across the country that are not their own. However, when we start talking stipulations, when we start talking unions, when we start talking students negotiating salaries, that's when things are going to quickly end. Why? Because we've already set a precedent that these coaches and these ADs are going to make millions of dollars. If we get to the point where players are making more than the coaches and the ADs, that's not going to fly. The ADs, the coaches, they're not going to lay down and do that. This is going to implode in on itself if we're not careful, and we're not being careful. This is bad, and that's not dour. That's not unrealistic. It's just the truth. It is just exactly where we're sitting in college. In the NCAA is almost spearheading it. Dartmouth players are employees of Dartmouth, and if this holds up, and TCU players are employees of TCU, Oklahoma State players are employees of Oklahoma State. UCF players are employees of UCF. We are going to see a change that takes UCF out of contention for a national championship in football because that's where the real money wants to see this whole thing go. That's it. Be ready. That's where we are as of Tuesday, February 6th on Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is where I go to make money. I like to make money. I've told you this. I go to FanDuel and I say, hey, FanDuel, I think that Kansas State basketball is going to beat Kansas in the basketball game. And then Kansas State basketball beats Kansas in the basketball game in overtime. And guess what FanDuel does? FanDuel says, nice job, Drake. Very nicely done. Good pick. We'll give you some money because you made that pick. Whatever money you had on it, we'll give you a little bit more than that because there's plus odds. And with the Super Bowl coming up, you can do that on the Super Bowl too. Super Bowl 58, FanDuel has best bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored in the game, and so much more. Right now, go bet on Patrick Mahomes. Bet against Patrick Mahomes. I don't care. Just as long as you're at FanDuel enjoying this offer. $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. That's right. New customers join today. You'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports book of the NFL.